I have with me today David Spidahl. He is from ICS Energy Solutions. He lives close in the Fergus Falls area and has his office in Pelican Rapids. So thank you so much, David, for coming in and sharing this afternoon with us. So first of all, David, tell me a little bit, what does your company do? What is the product you make or the service that you do?
Okay, ICS Energy Solutions, we're involved in selling energy-efficient building products. That's the main thing that we do. And in those products, we really have two major products. Logix insulated concrete forms, that's the kind of our flagship product. And then we sell a stucco system that involves an insulating aspect to that.
Okay, do you actually put up the buildings yourself too, or do you sell them to other contractors? Or?
No, I'm just involved in selling the products, and I sell mainly to contractors, but we also deal directly with homeowners and do-it-yourselfers at times.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, David, and how you got in this business, what your background is and your education.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've got a degree in elementary education, actually. I did attend the School of Architecture at the University of Minnesota for a while, and ended up dropping out of that. I actually attended the University of Minnesota Medical School for a period of time as well, and my wife and I kind of came to the decision that we didn't want to make those sacrifices to go down that route. So I ended up going back to my teaching degree, and I taught for 15 years in the Elbow Lake School District. I also my wife and I spent 2 years over in Africa, and I taught over there as well.
Oh, how interesting. Okay, so you have been an elementary education teacher. Did you wake up one day and say, gee, I want to start my own business, I think I should do this, or what was the thinking behind it?
Yeah, well, being a teacher, I had summers off, and like a lot of teachers, I got involved in work during the summer. It's not just all vacation typically for teachers. So I was involved in construction work, and I went to work for a person in the Pelican Rapids area who was one of the leaders in using this new technology, the insulated concrete form, for construction. So that's kind of how I got involved with the business that I'm in right now, through my work in the summertime.
Okay. Did you decide that you just wanted to venture out, take this risk, or what prompted you to say, I want to give up this steady paycheck for a business venture?
Yeah. Well, there are a couple things. The steady paycheck obviously is nice. The security is nice. My wife was not very excited about this whole idea of having our own business. But I think two things. I think just being an elementary ed teacher, I didn't see myself doing that into my 50s, to tell you the truth. Just the energy level it required and some of those aspects. So I kind of had that in the back of my mind, that I would make a change at some point. And then just the opportunity that came to me. So I didn't start a business from scratch, actually. I bought an existing business.
Okay. So tell me about the risk involved in buying an existing business, and how you handled that, and were you having to go to a bank to deal with that, or how did that work?
Sure. Actually, the business was an ongoing business. It was growing, and I was able to run it out of some existing warehouse space in Pelican Rapids, and I leased some office space, so I didn't have a lot of overhead costs initially. And I did, in actually purchasing the business, I did have to go and get a loan from a bank, and I'm still making payments on that original purchase amount right now.
Did that make you nervous? Did you lose sleep over that kind of taking on that kind of risk?
Well, I guess the aspect about getting a loan like that, you need to have some sort of collateral, and the business itself provided a portion of that, but I ended up having to use some land that we owned as collateral. So whenever you are putting up land as collateral, it's a little unsettling. Yeah.
So can I ask, do you have a guaranteed paycheck from the business, or do you get paid last, or?
Yeah. Well, right now, as most people know, the construction industry is experiencing a real downturn, and I've felt that and have had to do a number of things as a result of the downturn in the construction industry. One of those things is the salary that I draw. Basically, last year it was approximately half of what it was the year before. So,
well,
yes.
And that is the challenge of business, isn't it? What would you say is probably a critical personality trait to have if you're going to go into your own business?
Well, I think you've mentioned risk-taking. You also have to have some independence and enjoy problem solving, enjoy tackling challenges yourself, and not kind of depending on other people. But I will admit that there were times, especially when there were cash flow problems, where you sort of look at somebody that's working for the post office or UPS driver or something like that and go, it'd be nice to kind of have a job like that where, you've got responsibilities, but everything is pretty much set out in front of you, and you don't have those things that keep you up late at night or wake you up in the morning.
Well, that's true, isn't it? I think sometimes we can see businesses and we see storefronts or we see buildings or whatever, and we can assume that, things just happen and it's kind of easy, and it isn't always as easy as it looks, probably.
That's right.
How has this affected your family, and does your family help you or work with you, or are you on this your own?
Actually, my son has started working for me in the summertime. Because of the downturn in the construction industry, I was forced to actually lay off a couple workers, and it's essentially a one-man show right now. But my son works throughout the summer, and he has for the last 2 years. And then, of course, when he went to school, then I'm doing everything on my own. So then the days get longer, and there are weekends involved as well.
Can I ask, do you do anything close to a 40-hour week, or?
I don't think so, no, actually.
Was it as you expected it might be? Or did the economy throw a curve there?
Well, the biggest thing that has sort of impacted my business was the decision to expand and to build a new building and hire an additional employee. And I did that on the basis of a growth trend of approximately 25% a year for 5 years. The problem was that year that I kind of took the plunge, so to speak, that was when the growth leveled off, and then it started to go down with the downturn in the construction industry. So then I found myself with large fixed expenses, and I ended up having to lay off some employees, and I still am feeling the effects of having a building that's got a big mortgage and high taxes. So and then you need sales to cover those expenses. Yeah. So I guess that was a surprise in a way, not a very positive surprise.
It is challenging when you're in your own business because there's the things you can control and then there's the things you can't control, and that the economy and the construction industry was certainly a bit of an uncontrollable out there.
Right. Well, I think when I look at the downturn in my business, I don't blame it on the downturn in the construction industry alone. There were mistakes that I made, and I think not having a business background, sometimes you will make those mistakes and then you have to live with them. So right now my building is actually for sale. I'm interested in continuing my business, but I'm going to do it in a more modest way. And my business plan that involved the expansion, I've actually decided, well, at my age, I'm going to limit my expenses and see if I can just make a nice profit and have a business that provides service to the contractors I'm working with.
Sometimes in the media today we hear a lot of negative about profit, as if profits are bad or that there's just excessive profits and business is just like Wall Street and big profits and whatever. And yet, you know, you and I and a lot of us, we're Main Street, we're small people doing business here. And tell me about profit for you and what does that mean?
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess when it comes to profit, from a business standpoint, you know, you're interested in your profit margin, and which is you know, how much of a profit you're getting on whatever product you happen to be making or selling. And you need to have a sufficient margin to cover your expenses. And I think profit is essential. It's not a negative word.
Tell me about, do you experience regulation right now in your business?
You know, I really don't, actually. When I built the building, then I did experience regulation. And there were things, the permitting process was took longer than I anticipated. It forced me to actually, instead of building during the summer, I started building in the fall. So then I was building through the winter months, and it's more costly and more difficult. That had to do with the fact that I'm located right on a state trunk highway, you know, so there were extra regulations involved with that. So somebody getting started in a business, if they're going to build or do something like that, I think they really need to do their homework ahead of time and know what's coming down the road, so to speak.
You had mentioned that you didn't have a business background and that you are learning things on the go there, and like most of us have. And what specific things would you have liked to have known before you got going?
Mm-hmm. Well, looking back, and anyone who's thinking of maybe doing something from an entrepreneurial nature or starting their own business at some point down the road, if they're going to college, I would say take some accounting classes and maybe a marketing class, and have some of that background. I mean, I really would have benefited from that. I did hire somebody with a business degree. And with the idea that I would have them, you know, their background, you know, would help the business. This person had just graduated from college and was an excellent employee. But I think if I were to do it again, I would have employed somebody who had more business experience, actually, rather than somebody just right out of college.
First of all, I just want to say that I have admired the fact, as I've watched you over the years, you know, leave a stable kind of profession and go off and venture on your own. And I find that to be a very commendable thing, and I congratulate you on that. And I'd like to just ask you, what are you most thankful for in this experience?
Well, I think, you know, Actually, I was an elementary teacher, as I mentioned, and the thing about being an elementary teacher is you're actually, in a sense, self-employed in your own classroom. So I've always enjoyed my independence, and I think being a business owner, you have a great deal of independence, and you are the one that you're responsible for the decisions you make and how they turn out, and you really can't cast blame about. And say, well, it was, you know, somebody else was the problem, not me, if there's something negative. But then at the same time, if there are positives, you can feel good about what you've accomplished as well. So I'm thankful for the opportunity to be able to do that, and I think living in America has given us that opportunity where if we want to get started and try something new, oftentimes we're able to do that.
If you could do it over again, would you do it over again?
I would. I definitely would. I mean, knowing what I do now, I would have done some things differently, but I would not have not gone into business. No.